What is going on, everybody? Welcome. Week 14. I always have to semi-pause for a second because ever since they added that week, and then there's an extra week in fantasy, and then there are random week 14, but it just always throws me off. But it is week 14, Dave and Adan. And before we talk about any of that football-related stuff, just relax. Relax, okay? If it's that crazy that you can't, I'm about to do something that's going to make you money, save you money. So you could say that it's somewhat financially related. So you want my first sniff? You have to get, if you're a guy or a girl, whatever, you cannot get a haircut after December 7th or 8th. Because then that qualifies for the holiday huge tip that they're expecting. If you want to avoid the happy holidays, because they dress up that office, they make sure it's Christmassy, it's New Year. They're saying Happy New Year to all, just to entice that bigger tip. So, I just told Dave that I just got my hair cut, and I cut it real close. Ideally, if you're a 6-weeker like me, you go right before Thanksgiving, and you don't see them till after New Year. So you want to save a couple of shekels so that maybe you can throw a couple of ladders in there. How do you do that? Not get looped in to the haircut around the holidays, which is going to run you. The wait list is longer, and the tips are higher. Now, someone like if you have a cool person, you should want to tip them more. If you have somebody you like, that's probably not the case with many people. They have to begrudgingly go to someone. So if you're a begrudging haircut type, you basically have one day to go get a haircut. If not, you hold out until, because it can't even be January 3rd. You got to hold out till January 12th. And that's basically how I want to start this episode. Dave, I think you're due for a cut soon. You're paying the tax. You're paying that holiday tip tax.
December 23rd every year, man. I'm going to go tomorrow, actually, and then December 23rd. But I love my barber. He's a good dude. I'm in there for an hour, which is absurd. I know. To most people, that's insane. But he's the man. And I like to give him a nice tip on Christmas. Now, had this been like a random, super cuts or wherever you go, and you're just kind of like filtering through barbers and you don't have the same guy, totally get what you're saying.
Yo, you stream barbers?
Yeah, you're just streaming. I think there's probably some people out there that do that, right? Like,
they're sick. They have the worst hair I've ever seen. That, I mean, if you're willing to stream barbers out there, you're starting the Derek Carr of barbers any given week. You're in big trouble.
I mean, yeah, you're the Cleveland Browns quarterback rotation over the years. Man. But no, he's a good dude. So I go in, we shoot the shit, and he cuts my hair, and I'll give him a nice little Christmas tip.
Have you ever? Now you're probably real cool with this guy, so you probably have a bunch of conversations. Have you ever kind of just been out of it, and you just kind of you want to sit there in silence, complete silence?
No, that's all right. Not me, man, that's not me. I mean, I get it, and I'm sure there's times, but.
Even if it's not you, you probably have seen that, or at least know of guys who just want to go in there, put their head down. Okay.
For sure. I respect that. I got nothing. I totally understand. You want to go in there, get your hair cut and leave. That's not my personality, but I 100% understand the guy that just wants to sit in there and not talk. Just give me my haircut and get me out. I get it.
Me as well. I understand that as well. I'm obviously going to chime in from time to time during the era. But what's funny is girls were telling me like that is not a possibility for girls. You cannot go into a salon and just sit there and have this person work on you. It's like against the salon code. So I guess you learn something new every day. Maybe you learn something new every week. Like here in week 14, how do you like that for a little transition? Because we may learn that it seemed impossible. But can the Kansas City Chiefs miss the playoffs?
Yeah, they can. I was talking to someone about this earlier in the week. And Andy, if you pull up, like if you just go in and look at the action, and I know you've done this, but if you look at the standings, it's there's a real possibility they could miss the postseason. As far as like, if you don't count divisional teams ahead of them, right? Or I'm sorry, if you don't count division leaders ahead of them, right? Like Broncos, same division, but Jaguars, Ravens, and Patriots, there are still one, two, three, four, five teams with as good or better records. Six, sorry, with as good or a better record. So, yeah, it's a very real possibility that the Chiefs don't. I still lean towards them making it, but it's there because you've got the Steelers at 6-6. I mean, they're just gonna. I don't think they stand a chance, honestly. But then the Colts at 8-4, not leading the division. The Texans at 7-5, also not leading their division, and then the Chargers at 8-4, also not leading their division. So look, you have four teams that are going to get in. Whether it's the Ravens or Steelers, one of them has to make it. It doesn't matter how bad either of them have played. And then you have three other teams that can make it, right? So
here's now I'm not trying to make the pitch for them because the bet that I took is really I did a panic bet on Thanksgiving. I'll ask you to see what you think about it. But now when you lay it out like that, I guess the counter to the points that you just laid out there are, number one, you're playing the Texans this weekend at home. So you have that clear chance to pull even in the wins. And then now you have that little tiebreaker over them. You know that one of the Jags or Colts are losing this weekend. And then you are just now you're right at that. Whoever loses in that game, that's the team you're chasing, and you're a simple one game behind. And whether you're chasing the Colts or the Jaguars, none instill a ton of confidence that they're just going to run the table the rest of the way.
For sure.
And then lastly, after that, they're 2 games behind the Chargers, who won't have potentially Herbert this weekend. I mean, he says he's going to play, so you're going to get a off of surgery Herbert with this destroyed offensive line. That same Herbert team who's going to play the Cowboys, who seem like the best team in the NHL. I'm sorry, the NFL. A week from now. Yeah. So they have the Eagles.
Oh, Eagles and then the Cowboys.
Then the Cowboys. Then the Chiefs. So
that's tough.
There are 2 direct paths for them to snake in there. Now, I say that all knowing that on Thanksgiving, as soon as I saw them lose that game, I put $250 on the Bills to win the Super Bowl. Just because there's not a single team that would truly scare you. Yes, Denver's good at home. Yes, New England is going to, be at home in Gillette. Josh Allen has all the wear and tears. He's been in so many different environments, and the only hump he hasn't got over is that stupid Mahomes one, along with another weird little one that we're going to talk about in just a second. So maybe that's a silly play, but now this was before the Bills won this most recent week, because obviously the Bills lost to the Texans a week ago. So it's like their odds were even better. So now I think the Bills are at like plus 1,000, plus 1,100, which I still think is good. I think they're still the favorites to come out of the AFC now because they factored in no potential Ravens, no potential Chiefs. But there is another team that he has struggled with, weirdly, if you look, and that is the Cincinnati Bengals, who they'll be taking on this weekend. They're like 5.5-point favorites, I saw, and against a team who they really struggled against. You had that game, the Damar Hamlin game, which is the first time I saw them play each other. All I know is that the Bengals went down the field, scored. They were up like 14-3. Then that happened. Awful situation.
How long ago was that? Was that like 4 years ago now? I can't.
I thought it was 3 seasons.
Was it 3? Everything just kind of blends together at this point.
Okay, so then that the same 2 teams meet in the playoffs, and Burrow destroys them in Buffalo in the snow, where they're not going to really have as much of a home field advantage because since he practices outdoors, they've just got like an indoor little bubble like 2 years ago. So they're easily capable of handling tough elements. And then they played Sunday Night Football, I think a season or 2 ago, and Cincinnati destroyed them again. I don't know if Burrow's ever lost to this Bills team. And here they are this weekend. Bills are 5.5-point favorites. I think when the Chiefs, I'm sorry, I think when the Bengals are on one of these weird late season runs, you could go look at Burrow's record this late in the year. How can I not take the Bengals here with all these points?
I hear you. Nice setup. The last year I bet Joe Burrow to win MVP. By the way, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that Bills bet for what it's worth, especially if Kansas City. I still think it's more likely than not that Kansas City gets in, but they're just not the same team right now. And
But at that point, they could only play in the conference championship as two wild cards, and it would be in Buffalo.
For sure. And Kansas City isn't getting that bye anymore, which they'd seen them get so many years in the past. And then they'd come in after the bye and they'd get like the Texans or something, which,
Yep.
by the way, that Texans defense, man, they are incredibly good to the point where like I talked about this before the Bills game the other week because took the Texans in that spot. And it's like, I'm not sure people understand how good this Texans defense is, to the point where they have more interceptions than passing touchdowns allowed this year. They're really, really good. And Josh Allen had nowhere to go. I don't know. Another thing with Josh Allen, and to circle back to what you're talking about here, pay attention to his offensive line situation as well, because he was missing, I think, his left guard and right guard, or left and right tackle last week. And sacks and pressure have been a problem for him. They won that game, but that was because of the defense. Allen made some timely plays, but that wasn't a vintage Josh Allen game by any stretch, right? He threw for 123 yards, touchdown, interception. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense looked good, but Rodgers, they need to just start peppering Darnell Washington, by the way. People get out of the way when that man runs. Seriously, Tre'Davious White moved out of the way when he saw him coming. It was amazing. But to your point about Burrow, I bet him to win MVP last year when they were like, what was it, 1-5 or something, 2, 3-6, whatever it may be. Because the thinking was their defense is so bad. It's so bad that if they sneak into the playoffs, how can you give the MVP to anyone other than Josh Allen, right? Or than Joe Burrow? No, but you can't. You couldn't do it. And they ended up not making it in. But in a case like this, you get Joe Burrow back. Hopefully you have T. Higgins back. We'll see where he is. We're recording this on Wednesday. He might still be in concussion protocol. But yes, the Bills' offensive line and the pressure that's been allowed to Josh Allen, maybe you get Trey Hendrickson back, but Cincinnati's defense they've been getting some really, I don't know if you saw the Thanksgiving game, Andy. Some of those blitzes they dialed up, they were getting
they were getting home. Some of the turnovers, in totality, it looks like the D turned a huge corner.
It does.
They definitely made a bunch of good plays getting to. Now, here's the tough.
Lamar was, the whole offense.
Yeah, like is it? I mean, Lamar couldn't do anything against the Jets, so is it more of that?
I think it's both. I don't think
you had Likely about to cross the goal line, and then he tries extending the ball like a donkey. So
don't get me started on that. I had Isaiah Likely 50+ receiving and a touchdown at plus 692. About to hit it in the first half. Threw it up there on tails, so everyone's sweating it with me. And he fumbled. That was brutal, man.
Well, let me get your mind off that then. And then on the flip side, I believe the Bengals offensive line had their best graded performance in years. And then the counter to that is, but the Ravens have no, distinguished pass rushers. I think their leading pass rusher has 3 sacks. Mm-hmm. So it's like, is this a Cincy team that's about to rip off a couple of wins? Or was that just kind of a perfect series of events the other night? Because these Bills, they've shown that they can be beat any given Sunday or even Monday, in that case with Monday Night Football. And I don't know, man, the way Burrow's played against the Bills and the confidence that he seems to have against certain teams, it's really hard for me not to take me, I'm not really a spreads guy, but this one to me, I feel like if they lose, it's going to be in a close game. Look how the Bills played that last game. And I feel like when you win a game like that, it's all right, let's do the same thing. Let's keep Burrow off the field. And maybe they just go with a real run-heavy approach once again.
This Bills team has been remarkably, like, you want to talk about just a season full of parity and like unpredictability. It's the Bills. Like, is there any team this year that has been more unpredictable than the Bills? Like, they win their first 4 games. Um, they shouldn't have beat Baltimore, but Derrick Henry and company found a way for them to lose that game. But they sneak out the win. That was week 1, right?
Yeah.
And then the Jets, they smoke the Jets. They take care of Miami. New Orleans had them not on the ropes, but they tried the Philly special and threw a pick 6, I think, whatever. But then they lose to New England at home on Sunday Night Football. Then they lose to the Falcons in what wasn't even a competitive game the next week. They come out of the bye. They smoke Carolina. They beat Kansas City in a convincing win. Then they get smoked by the Dolphins. Then they beat Tampa Bay. And then they lose to Houston. And again, yes, they had a chance on the final drive. But let's be honest, Houston dominated that game defensively. Yeah. And then you come out and beat Pittsburgh. So my point is that if you think Buffalo got back on track because of last week, they haven't proven that they can string together convincing wins week over week. And with Joe Burrow back, I kind of like this. I'm with you.
You know what the reason is with them, and I know I mentioned this before, they seem like a team, and I would expect this from a team like them. They seem like a team that gets disengaged at various points throughout a season. They've done this dance so many times. They know when it's their time to shine. The reason I feel good about that Super Bowl bet is against the Chiefs, when the team is locked in and they have something to play for and something to prove and something on the line. I tend to think that's when you see the Bills' ceiling and you see what they're truly capable when everyone is dialed in there. It makes sense that on the road against Atlanta, on the road, even against a team like the Texans, who at the time really, they hadn't built up a ton of steam, and you're going up against a backup quarterback. It's a mail-in or two. And I know I keep bringing up those Florida Panthers. I think that the Bills' ceiling is still incredibly high, which is why I feel pretty good about a little sniff of a Super Bowl bet. I think it was like plus 1,400. Didn't come down all that much, but yeah. So that's so I like I like the Bengals by the spread here, and I like the Bills just as a Super Bowl. I mean, not like I'm going outside the box here, but just in comparison to the other prices, I do feel like if they played the Rams, they would win. It's just in a 1-game Super Bowl. I don't think just because those teams are looked at as superior throughout the season, that in a 1-game playoff in the Super Bowl, it's really going to be a coin flip, like almost every Super Bowl, which comes down to the end, other than a few.
Like last year, which I was very happy to see. But a lot of them do. Yeah, we'll see. You know, there's another game that I don't know if you have it here. I don't know if you've even looked at it yet, but this Cam Ward situation is bad. And the Browns are
add him into the list of quarterbacks.
I know, dude. But you know, there are few quarterbacks, man, the young quarterbacks that are playing okay. Him, not so much, man. Like, what? I don't know. Have you looked at the spread in this game? If you haven't, I'd love for you to take a guess. I think I just mentioned it.
I didn't hear it. All
right.
And if you don't believe me, when we're all dead and they bring up the charts, ask for this chart. I didn't hear him.
It'd be an odd thing to lie about, Andy. Give me what you think it is. 33 degrees in Cleveland, potential for some snow.
It's Cleveland minus 4.5.
See, you heard me. Yeah, you give me the runaround, man.
I was going to say Cleveland 3.5 to 4.5. What is it, bigger?
Yeah, no, it's 4, anywhere from 4 to 4.5. I thought the spread would be bigger than that, given how bad Cam Ward has played, and more importantly, how good this Cleveland defense is, particularly.
You also got to understand, I know more than most how it works. Anytime it's an obvious spot, it's never
for sure.
You know, the spreads, they're not going to trust Shador to cover a spread of 6.5 or 7.5 against anybody. But anyway, go ahead.
but I do think you could be looking at a game here where, I mean, Q.Judkins gets, obviously I'm being a little hyperbolic here, but like 30 carries, Andy. I mean, it's, unless Cam Ward somehow manages to shock the world against a Cleveland defense that I know last week they weren't great against San Francisco. But they have been, right, all season long. I think it's very fair to say this Cleveland defense has kept this team in games when the offense didn't deserve it. Whether it was Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, or Shedeur Sanders. When you talk about a guy like Q.Judkins, how do they not just try and force feed him in a spot like this? It feels like they will. Now, I assume we don't have any rushing attempt props up yet. We don't for this game. But I'm going to be keeping a close watch.
Sounds like cue the Price is Right music that we come in. Now, I do want to say to you, maybe of all the bets this season, I like a ton of the ones you bring up. You just talking about that, my mind is going absurdly agree. Because unless you go up by multiple scores, they can keep running Judkins.
That's what I'm saying.
And we know in the red zone, as evidenced by 2 games ago, they take Shedeur out of the game and give multiple Wildcat opportunities as well. And
yeah, they did
Samson's
it twice.
Out.
They did it against Miami too, where Judkins had 3 Wildcat snaps and 2 Wildcat direct snap touchdowns. And didn't he have 2 weeks ago as well?
Yes. Yeah, and one of them for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that. I guess my Price is Right bid, I just don't think they have the balls to go over
19.5.
I'm going 22.5.
Oh, you're going to go that high? Okay.
I mean, remember, no Dylan Sampson, so you can't even say that the 3 carries will be taken. So it would only be Ford. So, like, how can they?
I'll tell you how.
How about this? If you could be so kind, pull up some of the rushing attempts for anyone. Maybe just go to the Odd Shopper rushing attempts and just tell me a couple. It doesn't matter. Just tell me a couple. Tell me Saquon. Just give me some names.
But I'm saying I think it's only going to be Thursday. Oh no, okay, here you go. So the thing is, last week Jonathan Taylor was like 19.5 or something, and I'm thinking, man, how do they put Judkins the way? And I'll give you them right now. I got it pulled up. The way this goes wrong, Andy, is that like Shedeur Sanders throws a pick 6 or 2 or something terrible happens, or there's like a Tennessee kick return touchdown, which always seems to happen and is just brutal. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor, 20.5, James Cook, 19.5, right? That's against Cincinnati. Bijan, 15.5. Kenneth Walker, 13. Is there anything higher than that? Let me see.
No, look, if we're fishing north of Jonathan Taylor, then
Jonathan Taylor, 20.5 is by far is clearly the highest on this slate. And that's against the Jags.
Okay. I do know Judkins had an extremely high one very recently.
19.5.
Oh, so Judkins, you've seen him at 19.5?
Yeah, I think he was at 18 or 19.5. Yeah. As a matter of fact, no, last week he was, because if you remember, that was the game that had the 30-mile-per-hour winds. Yeah, and he got to 23, by the way.
I'm going with 22.5.
There's no way. They can't. Andy,
so you're going with the 19?
I mean, as much as I think he could get a monster number of carries, if it was 22.5, I think I'd probably have to take the under on that, just on principle.
So this guy's got 19.5. He was listed at 19.5 last week, goes for 23. Samson's out, and you think they're staying? You could be right.
Maybe 20.5. I'll go final answer 20.5. But even I can't go above 20.5.
You know what? I'm thinking you got to be right then. I mean, I'm going to stick with my gut but you're right. I mean, for this guy to have more designated rushing attempts than Jonathan Taylor in what is also supposed to be a close game, you might take this one. But the Devin Neal one was very interesting because it was right in the middle.
Real late we hit that.
maybe once again. Oh, I'm sorry. As my uncle always says, I was busy, couldn't watch. Check the paper. Looks like we won. But hopefully, or hopefully not. I hope that you're correct. But if it follows the trends of us guessing, then it looks like this is going to be 21 and a half right in the middle. So I guess time will tell. It'll probably be out in the next day or so. So I really do like that play. Let's see what we got here on the old donkey charts. Let's see who everybody is picking. 77% of people are on the Bears, and I would vehemently be against that pick.
Wow, 77% on the Bears. And for those of you wondering, because there's no matchup there, they are in Lambeau against the Packers, and it will be 13 degrees at Lambeau Field. Now, of course, Chicago can play in cold weather. Here is my one, and I haven't bet this game. Here's the one thing I have on this that may or may not sway your thinking here. This Bears team, their run blocking has been really impressive. And when you're talking about 13-degree temperatures, I still believe, because there's not going to be a lot of wind, they're still going to chuck the ball. But Caleb Williams, I mean, the guy's completing less than 60% of passes on the season. He's certainly not the reason that like last week on Black Friday against the Eagles, they had 200-yard rushers, both DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monungai. They were opening up, cavernous size holes in that offense, and a Philly defense whose run defense had really improved. I mean, they got some monsters on that D line: Carter, Jordan Davis, a bunch of good run stoppers. They could not stop the run. The Bears have run blocked really well this year, so I think more than anything, it just comes down to, do we see the Jordan Love of last week against Detroit? 4 touchdowns, just airing them out to Dontavian Wicks, putting them where only he could catch them? Or are you getting the Jordan Love against the Eagles or the Jordan Love against the Carolina Panthers? It's a tough one for me, man. I probably just stay away from this game.
So I have a slightly different take on this.
Yeah,
I know you want to credit this Chicago running game for being the best thing. Man, think about how bad things were to say it's the best thing since sliced bread. Sliced bread was the most insane invention ever. But people are acting like this Chicago Bears run game is the best thing since some sliced bread.
You're right. How hard would it really be to slice bread? Like maybe like the best thing since the Industrial Revolution, but not like, yeah. I mean, would it be a minor inconvenience? Sure. But I could think of worse things than having to slice my own bread.
These people got to bread in the first place. They couldn't then slice it. I mean,
right.
There's no way.
What about just like the best thing since bread?
We'd have to reevaluate where things were at the time in terms of food. Like, I don't know, maybe bread was just like cake. That was like the best cake you could have.
The best thing since not dying from every disease known to man that didn't have a cure. The best thing since antibiotics.
Starvation. Yeah, just starvation in general.
Yeah. I mean,
so
that's
anyway,
a great call. I had never thought of that. That's a good call. Why sliced bread? There
has to be some sort. We'll get to that. We have a week to worry about that. So you have this run game who you say looks good against the Eagles' run defense, and it did. In the second half, when it got to stick with the run game, and then the Eagles eventually tired out because they couldn't have sustainable drives on offense, which meant the defense was tired, and eventually doesn't matter how good your defense is, you're going to get gashed if your offense repeatedly comes off the field, and then the defense is tired. You have Caleb Williams throwing for about like 40 to 45%, and this Packers team, you name me a running back, and that's who they've stopped. They've had 2 cracks at Jahmyr Gibbs, getting like 23. They tried giving Jahmyr Gibbs so many different carries, so many different looks. The first game, he had 10 catches, just trying to get this guy in space, and they could not do it. And I believe if the Bears are going to have success, it's the ground game's not going to do it. It's going to have to come through Caleb Williams, and if you're going to tell me that Caleb Williams has to do it. And also, I just feel like there's a bit of a fortunate result here fortunate result there. They lost that game to the Bengals, and then it was just kind of a miracle drive at the end. So there is a little bit of that smoke and mirrors. You see Green Bay repeatedly lose to just like the Bills, these uninterested games. We lost to Carolina. They were mailing that one in. They lost to the Browns. They mailed that one in for the number 1 seed with all the headlines with the Bears and everything. This defense is going to be ferocious. And then you have Jordan Love coming off his best game in a while. You could be getting Jaden Reed back. The number 1 donkey play on there would be one of my favorite spreads to take, if not just maybe that Bengals one. But I would love to take the Packers here. I think they're correct in making them 6.5 point favorites. But Chicago's going to start that game with a fair bit of confidence, being that the last game I guess theoretically the Packers will too. But one thing that I wanted to bring up, part of my theory is that Chicago's not going to be able to run it, as nobody's been able to run it against them. And if that's going to be the case, or you see, because it's a 6.5 point spread, theoretically, if you're to believe the sportsbooks, Green Bay's supposed to be up. How about some of these receiving numbers for the Chicago Bears?
Jeez.
If you believe that Green Bay is going to be up and Green Bay plays a great game, maybe they blow them out. There are many, roads to Rome. I didn't think of it. There are many roads to Rome, R.Odunze here. 35.5. They tried to sell you that this guy is a wide receiver 1 in fantasy all year. I never bought it. However, the disrespect gets to a point where he runs enough deep routes. We're talking about these receivers the same way we were talking about the Shedeur Sanders receivers. 24, 35. Jamison Williams went for 150 something. Now that's a completely different scenario. You're talking about indoors. You're talking about Jared Goff and that offense, and there was no St. Brown. But my goodness, look at some of these receiving numbers. What do you think here about taking a couple cracks?
I'll tell you what, it makes you wonder how much they think the weather is going to affect this game, because even for R.Odunze, that is a wildly low number. It was 46.5 the other day. It's down to 44.5. That's still not all that bad, right? Like, all things considered, you know what the Cleveland and Titans total is?
I don't know. I'm not 30. Well, so now we know this one, and you're laughing at this. It's got to be 10 points lower.
Yeah, 33.5.
There it is.
That's crazy. I think on principle, you take that R.Odunze line. That 35.5, to me, it doesn't even matter if you're playing from behind. As you pointed out, they're going to have to throw the ball more. I'm not in full agreement that Green Bay is just going to fully shut down this run game. I have an immense amount of respect for Ben Johnson. You see a lot of these coordinators go from coordinator to head coach, be it defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator, and it just fails spectacularly. You see that very often. Then they go back to a coordinator job and they do a great job. But this is one of those spots where Ben Johnson seems to have some things figured out, and he seems to have some pieces. So aside from the spread, and again, I'm not betting Chicago here. 35.5 there. DJ Moore's at 25.5. So now Colston Loveland has a higher receiving prop than DJ Moore. It's really amazing. Would you consider just parlaying all of the overs on the top 3 guys in a game like this if you think they're going to be playing with a deficit?
So I think I'd rather do something that my friend kind of texted me about a couple weeks ago. When the Cowboys were hosting the Cardinals, this was many weeks ago now, a different version of the Cowboys whose defense was absurdly atrocious. And I believe Marvin Harrison was out for that game. So he was looking at the receivers that are on the Cardinals saying, yeah, sure. You obviously have McBride. One of these receivers has to do something, and they're both listed at 22 yards. And that was Zay Jones and Michael Wilson. So he goes, I'm not betting. He goes, I'm just taking both of these guys, 50 and 60. One of these guys, I just want to do well. And I think it was obviously Wilson, and he ended up making so much. These are so low that I don't know if. See, if you asked me if one of them goes under those numbers, I'd say yes. So one of those three will screw you, which is why I don't like that. But I do like taking, I mean, obviously the alts on Odunze are on the table, 50, 60, 70. You can go all the way up to 80, which he's demonstrated he can do.
Saw what Jameson Williams did yesterday or last week.
Yeah. So, I mean, they'll obviously add the other guys as well, too, like Burden and Zacchaeus and whatnot. But I mean, some of these numbers are just flat out ridiculous. And yeah, let's just keep things simple. Let's take some 50, 60, 70 on Addonze as far as if we're tossing out alts here. You're not going to get many more opportunities than that. I know I brought him up a couple weeks back. He had a couple slow weeks. Then he was listed at like what we thought was very low at 48.5 or something. I mean, to be this low, even if it's against the best defense in the NFL, it's just too low. You can get a prevent defense at some point throughout the game and get a couple of free catches. So I do like these here.
Yeah. Now, for what it's worth, I definitely wouldn't be parlaying all of these either. And the other reason is that Luther Burden has actually been a lot more involved recently. So now you take DJ Moore, you have Loveland, who's also been more involved, right? And then you have Rome Odunze, you have Luther Burden. That starts to look a little bit weird. You look at the last 2 weeks these teams have played, the routes run data, 39 to Kmet, 47 to Loveland, 45 to Burden, 59 for Odunze, and 59 for Moore, with 6 targets for Kmet, 9 for Loveland, 10 for Burden, 10 for Moore, and 15 for Rome Odunze. So, I mean, that's really all over the map. If I'm doing it, I would pinpoint one. And like you said, it would be Rome Odunze. He is still their leading target getter, even if he has some of these games where he gets blanked.
Yeah, and some of it has to do with Caleb Williams. Obviously, missed him for a touchdown. You know, he misses him a fair amount here. Before we kind of move on, the Broncos -7.5. Just looking at that, I'm like, oh, they're not covering. But this is one, unfortunately, I wouldn't have the brass to put any shekels on because, like an office pool, I would absolutely choose them. Hard-earned coin, not so much. I just can't trust Geno and those Raiders.
Tough,
it's just brutal.
We saw them only a few weeks ago on Thursday, and they were 9.5-point favorites at home. And the Raiders that ended up being a 10-7 game. And that was without Patrick Surtain. They held Brock Bowers to 1 reception in that game. And, you know, now you're just talking about a Denver team that tough win. What was it, Monday night or Sunday night? Yeah, Sunday night against the Commanders in overtime. But I hear you. This is one, you know, I think we're probably on the same page here. There's no chance that we think 77% of the tickets should be on the Broncos. Like, you know, the confidence level is that high. But also, and it's
all
like
the Broncos do is not cover. That's really their specialty, not covering.
For sure. And neither does like Bo Nix the same way. They don't cover. They didn't cover against the Raiders. But there's also that thing. It's like, all right, even though I don't like Geno and I don't want to bet him, football is football. The game is weird. I mean, the Panthers just outright win against the Rams. And on the same day where Seattle went in and did exactly what they were expected to do. So, you know, something goes the way you expect it, the other doesn't. You know how many people probably had teasers on the Rams and just those lost, you know, as a teaser piece, just lost outright at home. Raiders 7.5 points in division. I'm good on that one.
As I told you, they have the perfect pH balance to make sure you're screwed regardless. The perfect amount of favorites mixed with the perfect amount of underdogs.
Yeah.
maybe mixed with the perfect amount of players you can be fooled by. Now, I will ask you again because I took a little peek on your ship there, and I'm like, all right, no, I don't need to go back on that. Did you have any more luck with Rashid Shaheed? Did you go back to it? Did he whip you with the belt yet again?
Dude. No, I talked about that last week. I was like, sooner than later, Rashid Shaheed's going to have an insane game, and I won't be on it. And I'm okay at this point. I'm just okay with that. I think, I'm okay. I've waved a white flag on Rashid Shaheed. I did not go back to the well last week, but nobody in the passing game did well last week, and I actually like the passing game this week against Atlanta.
Well, is there another train we should hop on? I'll ask you because my thought is people will want to hop on this train, and this is a train that everyone hopped off a couple of weeks ago. I mean, the Colts definitely did. What are we thinking here with Tyrod Taylor starting, who's a different type of quarterback, who's a quarterback who can get his receivers the ball more often? Addonai Mitchell going for over 100 yards last week against the Miami Dolphins, a home game, 46.5. I'm telling you right now, I'm not betting that. But if you convince me, I will take some of the 70s, 80s, and 90s if you give me the green light.
You're not getting it from me, man. No.
Well, that's, hey.
Look, the guy can get open. He can get open. It's just catching the ball. And hey, what a great performance that was last week. They got the win. They've won 3 of their last 5 after starting the season.
Jets.
But yeah,
Classic Jets.
Always. Like they'll go 0-7 and then they'll win just enough to not get a top draft pick. But John Mech, here's the thing. Really, how much different is John Mechie than Addonai Mitchell week over? I think Addonai Mitchell's actually better if he can catch the ball. Like I think he actually has the potential to be a much better receiver than John Mechie going in the future. And let's say this, much higher ceiling. But also, you look at John Mechie, it's like 45 yards against New England, 65 yards on 6 of 7 against Baltimore, and then only 19 yards last week, but he was targeted 8 times on the day. So if you look at Addonai Mitchell, you go, all right, great game, 12 targets, but still 8 targets to Mechie, who had been more consistent. And his prop last I looked is at 39.5 receiving yards. So to me, I'd almost rather take the buy lower spot on Mechie over Addonai Mitchell, who's coming off the big game. I mean, what was Mitchell's prop last week? I think it was actually not that bad, but
I think it was probably 8 yards. It was probably hovering right around there.
I think
the
it was
way
mid-30s
kind of the Jets'
or something
offense
like
have been.
that. But John Mechie's interesting.
When we're debating which Jets receiver that we're trying to look at all time, maybe that's a signal that it's time to kind of bring this show somewhat to a close, unless you have anything else that you wanted to throw out there before we go.
Well, I mean, just looking at the rushing yard market this week, and as you guys know, we do our best to get you props for some of these games as much as often as we can. It's just the problem is a lot of books oftentimes aren't going to allow that. B.Irving, he's at 71.5 yards, right? Do we not just reach a point probably this week where he once again just fully takes over the backfield? After what I saw last week, he was clearly far and away the best running back in that backfield, and they wanted to use him as such. He saw 17 carries in his first game back. 17. He had missed what? 5, 6, 7, 8. Time. His last game was week 4 against the Eagles, and he came back in week 13. You're going up against the New Orleans Saints, whose run defenses, they're okay, right? But Devon Achane destroyed them last week, absolutely destroyed them. Rachaad White is not good, all right? He's a fine backup. He went back to seeing 2 carries in that game. And the week 11 hero, Sean Tucker, who had a huge game against Buffalo, he had 2 attempts as well. That's 17 for Bucky in his first game back, Andy. To me, that kind of feels like a spot where they might just force feed him. And Baker has not been right. Baker's got a bad shoulder.
Yes. All right, so I will poke the one hole. What's the spread in this game?
Like 9.5.
What happens if they're up by 10? Then you become part of the rotation.
I don't know if you do. I'm not convinced.
And I think that's where the question lies. Because if there was a rotation at that point, you probably wouldn't feel as good, right? Because that last week they needed him to play well.
I really think they need him to play well every week. Like, this is a team that is 7-5, a half game up over the Panthers in the end. And you know, if in the event, so put it this way, in all likelihood, well, I guess not necessarily. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In all likelihood, whoever doesn't win the NFC South, and this happens like every year, they're not making the playoffs. So I don't really think they have a ton of room for error, a ton of room to coast. I think you need to be up by a lot of points to take B.Irving out of this game, honestly.
I guess we'll see that, because coming on, I just think when a game is potentially in contention, you put him out there. Every down is so important. But man, like the reason Achane, I think, had 0 catches, maybe 1 catch last week, is they didn't need to play that kind of game. They just continued to run, and they didn't need to use him as a receiver a ton. They weren't trailing.
But he had 22 rushing attempts. I'm talking straight.
Yes, because that game was competitive till the very end. So they didn't feel comfortable. Can the Saints do that again? I do think it. We'll see. Remind me to bring that back up. If they do end up killing them, sure. Let's look at their second half utilization to see. How that goes.
Let me put it to you this way. The reason I don't factor blowouts in as much as you are right now is because in order to blow a team out, the team still needs to produce. So if B.Irving gets 95% of the first half carries and they go into halftime up by 3 touchdowns, in all likelihood, B.Irving did a lot to get them there, right? It's the same thing in basketball. It's like, oh man, he didn't get the blowout run in the fourth quarter because they won by so much. It's like, hey, he scored 40 points through 3. So I think there's a give and take there. And in order to go up on a team, in order to blow a team out, players have to produce. And we saw a lot of that with Devon Achane, who had a monster first half.
That is a great counterpoint, and a good counterpoint to end our episode, where the time kind of flew. I didn't think that it was already going to be.
Fun show.
Good show. Always happy to do it. Last week of the fantasy football regular season. I don't wish any of you luck. I don't care if you've been out of it for months. We've done the best we could to bring some things to your attention. Let's see how some of these potential alts go, whether these Bears do nothing. Maybe Dave's right, and this running game, there's not a team that can stop him. But I look forward to seeing it. I'm going to have some. And just in case, so my theory is, by the way, if something's in your head, it's misery prevent defense. It's how I live my life. And it's also how I put out some of my bets. Just because we've talked about Addonai Mitchell, if he happens to go off, I won't be fully sick. But, I'll have the sniffles, and not the kind that I like. So I'll have a little sprinkle. Just little sprinkles here and there.
What did you call it? What kind of money? What kind of money did you call it?
Dinky bets?
Yeah, dinky bets.
Yeah, throw in some dinky bets, man. Well, we're gonna have a little dink here, a little dink there, a little Mitchell dink, a little more than a dink for me on Addonai. But we'll see how those pan out. Dave, remind everybody, maybe these props are still going to be rolling out, and where can they find the latest prop that you like?
Oh yes, I may ladder B.Irving. You can find that over on Tails.bet, or download the app. Andy's kind enough to throw it in the description. We now allow comments, so all users can comment on these bets. Come say what's up. I'm all about it. Man. I'm all about it.
I know. It's
that stuff doesn't bother me. I embrace it. I don't turn notifications.
Oh, you embrace it. I literally have gargoyle sweatshirts that were inspired from the comments of YouTube.
Hell yeah, man.
I know. So just be careful. It's like looking at the sun. You look too long, and then all of a sudden you might be blind. So just be careful. Be careful.
Yeah, You got a lot of stuff, like just free bets across the board. You guys will, like, if you bet on sports, Andy's got you covered for NHL, NFL, but there's a lot more stuff out there that you can take up for free. The leaderboard, so you can see who's been crushing it. We're just doing a lot with it right now, and you can turn on notifications for your favorite people. And yeah, it's awesome. And you might find some people you really love the tail.
Definitely. And this is something I need to say more often. If you come over and you want to get my stuff on the Patreon, I want you to be someone who supports the show. What you're doing is supporting what I'm doing here. You're a supporter of the show. I do the best I can. I'm not a pro sports bettor. If you want to bring out spreadsheets and your return on investments on a daily basis, I barely have a minute to do anything. Dave and his whole team of people, and I'm really being honest, if you're a number crunching nerd, then go over to them. Like, if you're looking for the strict return on investment and I put in this and it's this percentage, I'm a sniff-oriented guy who's looking for people to help me here, so I don't have to beg, Haagen-Dazs for their sponsorship. So if you want to support my channel, you do that over on the Patreon. If you're a, number cruncher who just wants the best ROI and you want the best potential closing EV on everything and the latest ways to beat the system, go over to Dave and his crew over there. And they're not even nerds, too. They're cool people like Dave and Greg and the rest of them. So I'm sure it's great over there. I owe them a couple. Sometimes I'll text Dave, why don't you throw this on there? Maybe I'll put something every once in a while as well.
Love that. Well, and Tails has a lot of, like, long shot parlays and stuff, too. It's everything. It's, like, super sharp guys. And then also people that are throwing out mega lotto parlays. So it's actually, that's the cool thing. It's kind of like Twitter, except none of the decapitation.
The pirate tab, just a suggestion. Like, if everything's normal unless you hit the pirate tab, it's all the long shots.
We have that. We have a trend, Andy. We don't. I'm gonna do a trending topic.
I know, but just for a day or two for me,
we should do it.
Have the programmer change long shots.
If you post a pirate parlay on there, right? And can you explain quickly before we go exactly what a pirate parlay is?
A pirate parlay is a parlay put together by pirates. Who are pirates, you might ask? Those who roam the internet seas from video to video. And they don't take all these bets individually. They roll it all into one big multiple screenshot ticket.
Yep.
And that, my friends, the picks from my video, the picks from Dave's video, some guy at home who's watching right now, the picks from his video, it's all rolled into a pirate parlay. So that's what a pirate parlay is. It's an extreme long shot, a parlay that requires multiple screenshots to show to a friend.
Well, I'm going to create on the trending topics tab pirate parlays. Get you up there. Post one. I'll get one.
I will.
We'll have some
I will
fun.
put I will put the kickoff parlay to the pirate parlay section as long as that. Absolutely. Wait. All right, man. I will be back to you guys next week. Hey, remember, do the free things. Like, comment, subscribe, click the hype if you have some available. And then we will see you next week, week 15. Dave and Adan, take it easy.